So my talk is on extending Quarto, and we do that with Quarto extensions. And I just want to say, Quarto really does a lot. Like, when I first saw it, it was unbelievable that it could do articles, websites, blogs, books, presentations, and even knowledge repos. That is a lot in and of itself. But also, you can make products that contain computations performed with Python, R, Julia, Observable, and that's a lot more. That's just quite a comprehensive package that Quarto delivers. And now we have extensions, or we had extensions for quite a while, and they really can open up a whole world of customization possibilities. And there's lots of them. I was really impressed that there's so many Quarto extensions. They can barely fit in this slide here, and that's only just a small portion of them. So there's lots. There's definitely people chomping at the bit to create extensions for Quarto, which is really impressive. OK, so the big question is, we know there's lots of extensions. Where can you find these extensions? Where's the best place to sort of get introduced to them? OK, the place I like to go, always, is the quarto.org website. OK, it's a great starting point for lots of Quarto things. And really, the section you want to go to is in the top nav, extensions, which is just a huge section in and of itself. So in there, you'll find just the extensions themselves. They're broken down by the type. And there's like a creating extensions section, which is also really comprehensive and huge. Pretty much everything you need to learn about extensions in Quarto and to be a user or a creator of extensions is all in there. OK, I'm just going to break down the 4 different types of extensions in case you've never heard of them or you just want a little more explanation. So the types of extensions are shortcode/filter extensions. So with those, you modify select parts of a Quarto document. And shortcodes are a little bit different than filters. Shortcodes have a little syntax. I'll get into that a little bit more later. And filters just sort of automatically transform sections of your document. If you're writing an article for a journal, you'll be happy to know that there's a whole world of journal article extensions, which is great. There's a large amount, and it's growing every day. This is sort of similar in spirit to the articles package in R, except this is all in Quarto. Custom formats, we saw before that there's already lots of formats. You can create your own format, which is quite amazing. So with extensions, you can write your own to create a custom format, which is just unbelievable to me. Reveal.js, if you're using Reveal.js to create a presentation, it's great. There's extensions that create themes for these presentations. It's really a wonderful section of the site. For this talk, I just want to narrow it down to one type, because this is so huge, to one type of extension, and that's the class of shortcode/filter extensions. And we don't have much time. So I just want to narrow it down even further to shortcode extensions. OK, and what are shortcode extensions? They act a little bit like functions, but you don't use them in computational cells. They kind of live in the prose of a document. OK, and there's a number of shortcode extensions I want to share with you. There's so many I like. I just want to narrow it down to just a few that I really like. All of them deal with icons, because I really love icons. OK, so there's fontawesome. That's great. You can insert all the fontawesome free icons in your document. It's almost like a household name these days, fontawesome. And there's material icons, which you may not know about. So it's good to have a second set, mix things up. And now we have another set you can use in a syntax that's very similar to the first set. All these shortcodes pretty much use the same sort of style for usage. There's also bsicons. It's good to have a third set and really have lots of icons. As you can see, I'm just obsessed with icons. But if you want, these bsicons are actually really good. And there's the all-important hex icon there, which could be useful. So these are bootstrap icons. OK, one more. Well, actually, no, a few more, but this is one other. Academicons. OK, so if you're in academia, this is essentially an icon set with icons you'll find nowhere else. You can see Elsevier, you can sort of see Springer. You're not going to get those in the other ones. So this is pretty much essential if you're doing an academic website and you want to pepper with icons. One more. This is a special one. Okay, I just discovered it. Lordicon. Get this. These icons are animated. I don't know if you can see this if you're at the back of the room. You might want to stand up. Because look at that. That's Chicago over there. A plot that's actually interesting, a check mark that is dynamic, a cat, and a boombox. These are animated. And you can have all these and more in your Quarto document. Okay, imagine that. You can change the color, you can do all sorts of things. Okay, you can see why I love icons. It's a whole universe. Okay, so I hope I got you sufficiently excited about these icons and by extension, shortcodes. So if you haven't used them yet, I'll show you how to use it. So you start by adding the extension inside the working directory of a project. Okay, so in the console, you would use Quarto add, and then the repo that has the extension. The reason we do that is because we download the actual extension. It just becomes like a folder, an extensions folder, and you essentially commit that when you are doing like git. So when you run that, you'll be prompted to agree to this install. You'll actually get prompted twice, but in most cases, it's good to say yes. And this is how you use it. In a Quarto document, so we have this little bit of text. We need some fontawesome icons. Here is one. And then we have the double curly braces, and then the greater than, less than on either side. And then all importantly, you have to have a space, right? Okay. Then it works. Then it's FA and then the icon name. Okay. And to find out what the names are, you just go to the fontawesome website. There's a great icon listing. Just make sure you use a free icon, and it should work here. So yeah, what you get in the output document is that thumbs up icon. It's nicely scaled to the text. It looks really good. It's quite satisfying to see it rendered like that. Great. So shortcodes, they're pretty easy to use. But they can also offer more power through arguments. So here's some more examples with the fontawesome extension, just to keep it going. So you can do things like, of course, just have the icon, just give the name. But you can also use size equals LG to make it large. So that's great. There's different size classes. So just look at the documentation. Usually the documentation for a shortcode lives on the README at that repo that the shortcode lives on. So all the instructions are there. So all these things should be explained. And some of them, some of these icon shortcodes allow for a title, which is great. So when you hover over, you can supply a title. And this is also great for accessibility, because a screen reader will read this. OK, so yeah, so after running all this, we do get that output right there. So we get the thumbs up, the slightly larger envelope, and the really sized up battery. OK, just some tips, because I know you're going to use this right away. Around complicated values, given arguments like that battery thing, I would definitely use quotes, right? Because Lua can't really parse sometimes. If it's simple, then it's fine, like the LG. But I would use quotes just to be safe. Also, this is not surprising, but just a little heads up. You don't get autocomplete for these inside a document. You just have to sort of not make mistakes and have to remember things. So don't mess it up. So just go to the repo for guidance. If you do mess it up. OK, so where to find even more extensions and other Quarto resources as well. So this is recommended in last talk, the awesome Quarto on GitHub repo. So that's right there at that site, right there. And this is just a smorgasbord of of resources. They're really very current. It says the most up-to-date curated list of Quarto docs, talks, tools, examples, and articles the internet has to offer. It's a bold statement, but it's true. It really is the place to go to. Yeah. And let me show you, just take you on a tour of this giant README. There's a section there on extensions. This is the most comprehensive list I've seen. And this is how I discovered most of those icon shortcode extensions. OK. Journal articles. This is part of that articles thing I talked about. I'm getting a little bit off the topic of icons, but that's OK. You'll find what's available in journal articles, like templates. It's all there. There's also presentations, HTML document templates, PDF documents, so many things, even mixed multiple formats, docx even. Wow. So that's all there. Awesome, awesome Quarto. So I was inspired by all this. So I did a thing. I like icons a lot. That's obvious by now. And I enjoy documentation too. I don't know if you know that about me. So I created a repo full of examples of how to use icons in Quarto. OK, so I just made this public today. It's pretty good. All it is just like a bunch of QMDs. It's got all the icons sort of preloaded in there. I committed that stuff, like the extensions. And you could just clone this, try it out. Render some stuff, change things around. It's actually surprisingly hard for some of these extensions to get them to work right. There's some missing tips and tricks that I put in there that help a lot, especially for the lordicon thing. I mean, that's pretty valuable. You have like animated icons, so you got to know how to do that right. So you can learn about how to use all 5 of those icon-based shortcode extensions, and plus, how to use a conify written by the same person who made the awesome Quarto GitHub repo. And this is just like, this blew me away. This has like, not thousands of icons, tens of thousands of icons in different libraries. It's rather nuts. It's rather nuts. OK, but it's there. It's there in that description. So at this point, you might be inspired to make your own shortcode extension. It's not that bad of a thing to do. There's already a lot, but there aren't nearly enough. That's my opinion of things. So if you have the need to make one, why not make one yourself? OK? So if you're doing that, where do you start? Well, the Quarto website, again, go to that. It has a great section on creating extensions. It's just extensions/creating. And not only that, you can use other extensions which are already built as a model for a shortcode extension. Like fontawesome, that one's incredible. I just went to the repo, went to the Lua file, and I just used that to make my own extension. It was great. And then our next speaker actually wrote that, Carlos. Oh, I'm pretty sure he did. OK, anyways. He's saying no. OK. Let me show you that code. It's inspiring. So I'm going to do something which is ill-advised, show you a bunch of Lua code in a talk. But don't worry, I'm going to zoom in. I just want to show you that all the main logic for the fontawesome shortcode filter, it fits inside 40 lines of code. Like all this value is in 40 lines. That's amazing. I mean, there's like other functions above, but don't worry about that. But all the main stuff is here, 40 lines of code. I'm going to zoom in. OK, in a sec. First, I want to tell you that all the logic, it's a bit weird to start. You create a return statement. And that's just how it goes with these extensions. OK. And then, OK, so if you remember the fontawesome demonstration, you use FA, then the name of the icon. So you sort of define a function, which is like FA. And then you have typically args and quargs. OK. OK, so that's great. That's not that bad so far. You make a function. OK, and then you have to like parse your own arguments, which is not too terrible. Again, we have this code here. It's there for posterity. It's not going to change, I don't think. But we can use this as a guide, and we're going to get like these like variables, and we can use that to sort of create like the icons themselves, like create the essentially the bit of like HTML that gets the icon. And just some nice clues in here that are kind of hard to figure out if you're not reading this code. You would use things like pandoc util stringify to get the argument values of strings. That's a nice little trick. And you see 1 and 2. That's like just like the arg position. And then if we have things which are like size, that's like args, keyword args, instead of positional arguments. And then you can get the values from the named arguments, which is great. And then this is like a pleasure to me, like when I started using Lua. It's string concatenation operator, ... It's really wonderful. It's just a joy to use. You just string together a bunch of things, and it's like paste in R, and it's quite nice to use. OK, and another little trick. This will be really useful when you make your own extension, which is going to be pretty soon, I'm sure. When returning some HTML or LaTeX text, we need to typically use pandoc raw inline. Just remember that. And if returning nothing, pandoc null is the thing to use. OK. OK, and you might see just in this little scan of like your first Lua code you've ever seen, probably, we have helper functions like isEmpty. That's defined above the code. Oh, just a show of hands. Has anybody ever written some Lua in here, ever? Oh, not bad, not bad. I saw like maybe 10 people. That's good. OK, again, 40 lines of code. Nice. I mean, not that much. We get a lot out of it. I mean, now we have fontawesome icons in Quarto. OK, I was inspired by this, all this work I saw on shortcode extensions. So I made my own, and I'm calling it Q format. And that's available today. So it's at this site, at my GitHub, essentially. And it's a formatting extenextension for Quarto. I'm going to show you that super briefly. It's a way to format numbers right now. You give it a number and some options, and it'll nicely format it as a decimal value, as an integer value, or something in scientific notation. On that last point, it's actually super hard to make nice scientific notation without going nuts. In Quarto, it's pretty manual. With this, you get the right sort of like formatting, no matter whether you're using HTML or LaTeX, or PDF, I should say, in the end. And if this thing, I hope, will sort of like catch on, and I'm planning on doing more, like say taking numbers and making currency values out of them, or helping with units notation and making that nicely formatted, and just doing other little things that would be nice for formatting. Okay, so I'm going to show you a quick example of this extension, since it's so new, and I would say good formatting makes for a good document, and that's always true. Here's some examples. So in this first example, a floating point number, and then we have the shortcode, and it starts with Q format. And then we have like a sub command or like a type. I'm just saying num, so because I want a number in the end. And we have this pretty big, complicated number with some decimal places. So I can just say decimals 4, use separators. These are like the commas or the grouping separators. I'm just going to say no for this one. OK, and in the end, at the very bottom, if you scan down, yeah, it has 4 decimal places, and that's pretty good. If you have a large integer, that's you can express it as a very large thing in exponential notation. It'll just expand it out and use the separators right away. Scientific notation, you can do that. This is the sort of hard thing, so that's great. You don't have to use like sup or a span if you're doing HTML. It just sort of does that for you, which is good. OK, so I want to conclude. My goal in this talk was to convince you that extensions are cool, and extending Quarto, the name of my talk, is a good thing. So yeah, all those things you get. But having extensions, it just takes it out of this world. You can customize basically anything. It gives you a ton of control. The community has already made a ton of extensions. And so the future looks pretty bright. I can imagine there'll be many more, and they'll get more sophisticated as time goes on. And thanks to the power of Lua, you write the extension code once, and then all these ways of expressing your computations, all those users benefit. So that can only be a good thing. OK, and that's it. I just want to say that my presentation is at my personal GitHub under presentations. It's in there. And those 2 things I talked about that I did, they're also in my personal GitHub. And I just want to say thanks.
Thank you. We have a number of questions for you. First one, our packages come from CRAN, but where do Quarto extensions come from? Are they vetted at all? Wondering about corporate policy on installation.
Yeah, it's right now a little bit of a Wild West situation because it just lives in a GitHub repo. It could live in other repos as well, but the sort of default or the easiest way is GitHub. And because of that, it's a little bit unsophisticated. There's no package down websites for an extension. There's just like the README, but hopefully the README has everything you need. There might be examples, but yeah, it's pretty much like not like that at all.
So use at your own risk, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
Second question is kind of a feature request.
Yeah.
Can you create an R package to create extensions so we don't have to learn Lua?
Oh. Maybe not. I mean, Lua is not that bad. Like, I'm trying to dissuade the person who asked that question.
Kind of avoiding the question, though.
I'm avoiding the question, but I'm giving an alternative, right? Lua is not bad. Like, I learned it just by looking at different, for shortcodes at least, at different code. It was nice. I looked at a YouTube video or 2 on Lua, sort of like helped me out a little bit more. I'm just going to say no to the question. Yeah.
OK, next question. Can you inject R code or objects into shortcode?
I believe you can use, no, you cannot do that. No, it's Lua all the way down.
No. By the time we get to Lua,
yeah.
Initer has already executed is the main issue.
Right.
Yeah. That's totally it. What Carlos said is no.
Yeah. Not have shortcode, but an include statement. So it's tricky. Ask us about it, and we'll try to solve.
Yeah. Thanks, Rich.
Yeah. Thank you.